You're listening to only the best in the world. No, the universe.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Hey, welcome to Salmon Says Podcast and a video blog and that good stuff. I am Salmon. How's it going? Today we're going to go over some drum techniques. If you knew it or not, I am a drummer. I've drummed for almost 25 years. Self-taught. I can't read music, so if you brought me a sheet of music, I'd be like, oh, those are cool-looking dots. I don't know what that means. So we'll go over some just basics today. I'll introduce you to different parts of the drum and the different pieces of the drum set. And again, I haven't said this before, but I will say it. You don't have to get anything fancy. When you're starting off drumming, in fact, get something cheap. You know, you're gonna hit on it. You're gonna learn from it. So don't go out and buy a $1,000 drum set when you're just learning how to play. Get something cheap and easy. If it doesn't sound bad, you can always change the heads and get a little bit better. So, upgrade piece by piece as you go, because drums can be very expensive. Okay, sometimes you can find some good deals on sets. I've had good deals. My very first drum set I got at a Guitar Center, I believe it was. And, I told the guy I'm just learning how to play, and he gave me a good deal, and he even put it together for me in the store. And so a buddy brought a pickup, and we threw it in the back of the pickup and took it back to his house. So that was pretty cool. Musician's friend. I've got this one on Musician's Friend. First, let me introduce you to my other child. This is my drum set here. All right. It's a pearl. It's black. So, foot pedals down there. We'll get to those pieces. Let's start off by introducing the pieces, and then we'll talk about the drums, okay? And just some basic techniques you can start with. First of all, the pieces of the drum set. Here we go. This is the snare drum. Okay, snare drum's probably your most important drum. That's when you hear the most often. That's when it's almost always hit. Okay, then you go over to hi-hats. Hi-hats are the one that has a pedal. You can push up and down. And doing different things, depending what sound, you can open it way up, you can go down. A lot of times jazz will have them way open, all right? Then you go up here to your crash cymbal. Crash cymbal, all right? And this is a tom. Say hi to Tom. That's another tom. Say hi to Tom. They're both named Tom, don't ask. And then this is the floor tom, okay? And there's a lot of different drumsticks. We'll get to that on the next lesson. All right, different drumsticks for different songs and different techniques you want to do if you're playing a coffee shop or something like that. Obviously, you want quieter things. Okay, so again, we'll go tom, tom. This is another crash up here. Okay, this is one of my older crashes. This is called a ride cymbal. You can hit it different ways, ride cymbal. And then the floor pedal, or the kick drum, whatever you want to call it, is right there. Now, the floor pedal is very important because that keeps your timing. When I first started playing drums, I had a hard time keeping timing. I was going way too fast, and the guitar player and bass player would just stop and be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, what? And they're like, you're going too fast. I go, oh, I didn't realize I was playing too fast, So that can be very important. It seems something very basic. You just push on it, People like to mess with the floor drum and make the deep sound. But that's a very important thing for your timing. Usually if your timing is too fast with your foot, then your hands are too fast, and then it throws off everybody else in the band, okay? Let me tell you a little bit. Let me put this down and tell you a little bit about my drumming history. And I'll just hold on to it. Let's see, I started off drumming when I was about 21, 22. I never learned music in high school except for vocal music. Even then, I don't know if I can really read vocal music, kind of, sort of, up and downs and that kind of thing. But I used to always beat on the counter, and I would always just keep a rhythm, and everybody does that. But I had a pretty good rhythm, and bongos are actually in my blood. My dad played bongos. I don't think he was ever really in a band. He would just kind of jam with friends and stuff when he was younger, but I never really heard him play, and until I learned how to play drums. It wasn't something he was just kind of shy about it, which is really weird. My dad's not shy about much. But anyways, so we're about 22 years old, something like that. My friend Bo and Bo's been on the podcast on the audio side several times. And then Marcel, he lived across the street. We all kind of grew up together. Decided we're going to start a band, okay? Nobody knew how to play anything. Nobody had to write songs. But Bo and I bought electric guitars. I think Walmart had some cheap ones we bought. Tried to teach ourselves some notes on the guitar. Marcel bought a bass guitar, made his own amplifier. You have to know Marcel because that's what he really did. He kind of made his own amplifier, box and speaker and stuff. And then we had a guy, I think his name was James, if I remember right. It's been a long time. That kind of lived next to Marcel. He was going to play drums. So Bo bought a drum set, a basic drum set. And what he bought was the snare. He bought one tom, the kick drum right here. Where's it at? There it is. And then he had one cymbal. That was it. It was a basic cheap drum set. That's all Bo could afford. I couldn't afford any drums, and so he bought it. And then that James guy was supposed to play it. Well, we'd practice, work on some songs, just throw some lyrics down. Bo and I would rotate singing. Marcel would throw in some background vocals. I don't think James really sang. But then he kind of got flaked out. I don't know if he just got bored with it or, what happened. But James just kind of flaked out of it. And so we just had this drum set sitting there. And I wasn't really getting guitar. I mean, I was, again, trying to teach myself music when I don't know how to read music was tough to me. Those guys figured it out. I didn't. I can play a few things on guitar, but nothing like they can anymore. So I don't even have a guitar anymore. But I was like, well, I'll try the drum set until we find somebody else. I can keep a beat. I mean, it's 4 pieces of drum. 25 years later, here I am still playing drums. We're not looking for anybody, by the way. So yeah, we'll go over a couple drum techniques. From there on, I bought a bigger drum set. I had to learn how to play hi-hats. I'll show you what I first started off playing. So I first started off playing was mostly, we did like punk rock music. And punk rock music with a 4-piece drum set is fine because, that's all you need. So again, we just had the snare, the one tom, the crash up here. See if I can get the crash in there, if you can see it. Okay, maybe not. And then the floor tom. So, everything was just really... So my crash was my ride, my hi-hat, my everything on one cymbal. And that's how I played for quite a while. Well, then when I decided, okay, I need to upgrade and get myself a better set, because that one A was owned by Bo, which I don't know if it ever happened to, I bought a nicer one, and I said the guy gave me a deal, and he put it together. Well, then I had to learn how to play it. So then I had, I had one crash, then I had these hi-hats, which I've never used before, right here. I had 2 toms, a kick drum, and then a ride. So the only thing I didn't have was the second crash cymbal, but I had to learn how to play hi-hats. And so Bo was in another band at the time, and his guitar player, who also could play bass or drums or anything else, Justin, taught me how to play the hi-hats. And so that was a key thing, because if you can play hi-hats and snare, you can do about any song in drum. Okay? That's like learning the 4 basic chords on guitar. You can play 1,000,001 songs if you learn the 4 basic chords. Well, same thing with hi-hat and drum, and snare drum and your kick drum. So first we're going to go over kick drum. This is the easiest thing in the world. All you got to have is some kind of, you can use your hands, you can use your feet. Obviously I use my feet, but whatever. So we're going to do We Will Rock You from Queen. You're just going to see my hands right now. But 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We will rock you. That's an easy one, okay? And it seems simple and maybe a little silly, but you know what? That's a great way to grab your rhythm, because drummers have to keep the rhythm and the timing, and that's a good way to keep your time.
Susan's Books and Gifts, so much more than a bookstore. Shop online for a variety of toys, science projects, puzzles, and more. Susan's has over 20,000 used books to choose from, all only $2 each. A store where there actually is something for everyone. Susan'sBooksAndGifts.com. Get something for family, for a friend, for yourself. Bookmark Susan'sBooksAndGifts.com, a sponsor of the Salmon Says podcast.
That cord out of the way there. I am Salmon. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so we met Mr. Snare earlier. Okay, you don't have to call him Mr. Snare. In fact, don't do that around the guys, because they'll probably beat you with your drumsticks. So different things you can do on the snare. You can, snare sounds like that. It's the main drum. You can do, Civil War type stuff. Okay, if you want to throw in some hi-hat, you can do that. Do some foot pedal. I don't know if you could hear it, but on the foot pedal, I was doing 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. And it may not seem like much, but again, that helps the bass player, because that's kind of the rhythm he's playing. He's kind of going doom, 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 doom. So your foot pedal will help out the bass player, and it also keeps your time, as I mentioned. So the foot pedal is very, very important for drumming, for timing, okay? If my foot pedal got going too fast, then my hands are going to get going too fast. And then the guys are going to turn around and go, hey, what are you doing? So, all right? So we'll kind of go over, here's a little AC/DC, and you have to, I'll just do the guitar with my mouth, because I don't want to get sued for copyright by playing the music with the CD player. But years ago, I was working in an after-school program with middle school kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and we did drum club. And I brought my drum set in. It wasn't this one, it was my other one. I didn't have this one. And I let them play on it, which I was like, okay. But it was pretty old by then. So they wanted to play Hell's Bells. And I was like, I'm not sure how your parents are going to like that. It's public school, but still. So I was like, okay, let's learn Back in Black. Back in Black, there it goes. Rhythm in there, we had to change your speed. That's pretty much Back in Black. Obviously, it speeds up at the end as the song goes along, but that's kind of the basic. AC/DC drumming really isn't that hard if you listen to it, but it's very steady and very solid. Weezer was one of the first things I ever learned, the Blue Album from Weezer. My Name is Jonas and Buddy Holly song and stuff like that. That's what Bo and Marcel and I would practice and try to learn what they're doing on theirs. And those are a little bit more complicated, especially with a 4-piece drum set at the time, but that's what we learned. The hardest song I ever had to drum, and finally, it took me a while to figure out what he was doing, was Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. David Grohl, obviously the drummer. And I was like, David Grohl, if you've seen him drum, the guy has 3 arms. He does. He grows an extra arm when he plays the drums, I swear. But not really. But it seems like it. So he's doing Smells Like Teen Spirit. And he's like... That's what he's doing there, and then that was the the verse, and then he got back in the chorus with the hard part again. But I couldn't figure out for a long time what he's doing. He was just hitting this 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also go to here, depending what sound. My crashes have different sounds, as you can tell. The one on the right is the older one. I had a really, really old one that I love the sound of, and I still have it over there, but it's just really cracked. 25 years of it, hitting it hard. It came loose, and I didn't have all the pieces for it, and it just kind of getting cracked, and I tried to seal it, and I couldn't seal it. So this one is relatively new, a couple months old. It took me a while to find when I liked the sound. I actually physically took the old drum in, hit it with drumsticks in the store, just holding on to it kind of, and then hit this one, and that's the one I found with the closest sound. So that's a rhythm you can do. Wipeout was one of the first things I learned on bongos, and I used to just do it on the countertop in my kitchen when I was 19 years old or whatever, and just start playing Wipeout on the countertop. So Wipeout... Go deeper, that kind of thing. You can also do a bongo. Bongo's a good way to start too, just to work on your rhythm. This is just a little tiny Congo drum. They have big ones, but make sure that you're not muffling the sound. A lot of people get the bigger ones and they put them on the floor, and it's like that doesn't do any good. You need to put it between your legs and hold it, or somehow a stand or something to get the sound up, because the sound comes out the bottom. Turn my snare down there so it's not rattling. So on these bongo drums, you can hit outside, a little higher sound, a little deeper on the inside. Okay? You throw in an egg shaker, which is really nice. Egg shakers are a lot of fun. They're very inexpensive and cheap. Here's an egg shaker. A lot of times they come in packs of 2. So you can do both. You can... A band a couple years ago with a buddy of mine, Josh, and my name's Josh, and so we were Josh and the other guy, and we did a lot of bongo songs, and he had a big African djembe, which was beautiful. He still has it, but I just played that. He had that, and I was like, okay, we'll kind of do that. He did acoustic guitar, sometimes, plugged in acoustic guitar. Sometimes we do the full-on drum set and the electric guitar thing, but a lot of times we just did the 2 of us, a 2-piece. And so a lot of our songs are that, so I found different ways to hit this, different speeds, different techniques. Sometimes I would go back and, do this, and then in post-production add in some cymbal or some keys or, some backing vocals or whatever. Add in a little bit of that in post-production, but maybe we'll get to that. I don't know if we'll do production stuff. But there are some basics for drumming. And again, you can, over here, this is your deep one. So if you want to go all the way around, and on the snare, you're like, wait a minute, that snare sounded low. There's a little switch here on the side of your snare drum. You see that right there? That makes it higher or lower. So rarely do I ever play it that low. Most of the time I just leave it up high, but sometimes when you're playing something else, if you're just sitting here talking, it'll rattle on the vibrations of the floor. Sometimes I have carpet below this and padding, so sometimes that stops it, sometimes it doesn't. But if you want to go all the way around, that's the way you do it, okay? There's a million and one rhythms you can do, but first I would just work on the snare, just kind of getting your timing. pretty basic. I've had people ask me, hey, can you show my kid? And I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm the right one to teach drums because I don't know how to read music. I wish I probably would have started that way in high school, but I didn't. And so here I am, 25 years later. But there's a lot of great musicians, and I'm not saying I'm great, but there's a lot of great ones that don't know how to play guitar that learn that way. So there's a drum lesson number 1 on the Salmon Says podcast. Appreciate you tuning in. By the way, we have Salmon Says merchandise you can see on my hat. Ooh, look at that. Salmon Says podcast hats. I have shirts available to order too. So let me know. Those are available at Salmon Says Media on Facebook, and get your prices and stuff. You can just buy the patch, or I can put it on a hat. This is a fitted hat. Stretch fit hat. You can get the mesh ones, or you can just get the polyester or wool with the strap that are adjustable as well, depending on what your flavor is. But the Salmon Says podcast hats, I'm trying to keep relatively cheap, but still make a little bit of money on them. Obviously, make my cost back on what they cost to make. So appreciate you guys tuning in. This is the Salmon Says podcast. I'm play a little song out, and we'll catch you next time. Next lesson, we will go over drumsticks, different types of drumsticks. All right, and then on the third one, maybe I'll play a little song for you. But let's just kind of go out here. Sometimes you click it off when you start. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's all over. So there you go.